When I say the word chatbot, you must be really familiar with it. You talk to it via ChatGPT, you talk to it via Claude, you see it on website, you probably would see it on some people's social media handles. And it is very common nowadays. But the chatbots which are available mostly in the market, are they actually using all the functionalities which a chatbot can properly use efficiently, flawlessly? Let me show it to you in this video how I made a flawless multifunctional chatbot with Voiceflow and N8N. Now, these platforms do not mean anything and you can use any platforms. What means actually in chatbot making or any AI agent building is how you make it, what is the workflow behind it, what is the idea behind it, and how it is able to use the tools and the knowledge which it already has, which the coder, which the algorithm maker gives it. This is the main deal behind building a chatbot or any type of AI agent. So let us start with this. So in overview, this is what the chatbot looks like. I know it might seem a lot and this is like a web, right? It is all very jangled up, but it does not mean anything in reality to someone who is not an AI engineer or someone who does not make these type of things. What you need to know is, and why you clicked on this video, is to know the workings of the AI and how the chatbot actually works behind the curtain, right? So how it works is that, for example, a user messages and it has a background brain of its own, right? Which we call an artificial intelligence in layman words, right? So artificial intelligence, what we call is large language model, an AI model which is able to chat through language, and it has a large capabilities of answering. It has a lot of what we say neurons, right? So when you message, for example, hi, and then it will message according to user's message. For it is a user's message for which it replies that hello, how can I help you today? And depending on what the information is being fed to the chatbot, it replies according to the user's message. It is very fundamental to understand. It is like talking to a person, but in place of the person, it is an artificial intelligence and it has a brain of its own. And how I have encoded it is to stimulate various type of conversation pathways which can happen between the user and it. In simple terms, if a user clicks on this button, then it has to activate this workflow and it will do this type of things. If the user clicks on this button, it will do this. So various type of outcomes the AI can do according to what the user replies or what the user clicks. Sounds simple? And it is not more than that. And what the AI actually does is that it connects various platforms. So for example, I build it in a platform called Voiceflow. And for example, it has a functionality of setting an appointment. So for that, what it does is it takes the user's query or the last 5 queries according to appointment details and then stores it in a variable, and then it passes that variable to N8N, another type of software where that N8N workflow has my Google Sheet account linked to it, from where it stores that the query, the information which it had, it extracted the appointment details, and then it stored that in the Google Sheet in a structured manner. This was the whole thing, a very complex thing for a very simple task, right? And if I can explain it a little better, I'll just say that it takes an information and then stores it in a Google Sheet in a structured way, what it is doing. And if it has to change a particular information, what it does is it extracts the information from the Google Sheet and then displays it to the user, and then the user will tell if what the information it wants to get changed, and then according to that again it will pass the change query to Google Sheet again and structure it and change the appointment details accordingly. So this is what it does. This chatbot, what I'll build, if I'll show it to you, what it does is, now you see, so for example, it says, hello, how can I help you today? So if the user clicks on get information or help, what will happen is it has access to a knowledge base of its own. In my last few videos, I have been explaining to you what the knowledge base is. So knowledge base is nothing but the whole content, lots of content which the agent has stored in its database. And when the user asks something, it extracts not the entire knowledge base, but some part of it relevant to the user's query. It is very simple. It is similar to how we extract information from our own brains. We do not provide the whole information to a person who has asked a simple query, right? We search related to that information and then answer related to that information. This is what the AI is doing. So for example, if we click on get information and help, then what will happen is it takes the agent, the AI, to this block, and this block is an info provider agent of its own, which I have given it a prompt. And if you see clearly, the prompt is not relevant. The prompt is basically that its role is to provide particular information with access to knowledge base. And what another functionality it has is that while extracting knowledge base, if it runs into some errors, it can say to the user that it does not know. So these are some error fallbacks. And if it does not know something, so it can use this side tool which I have inputted, is search using SERP API. SERP API is another function. So it can perform a Google search if it does not know something. So again, a tool connected to another tool. So it is a double tool kind of thing. So this agent is a part of the entire chatbot, and this agent has access to the Google search tool from where it can use if it does not know something, or if it needs to know some relevant locations. So this whole chatbot is for a dental company for appointment setting, right? So for appointment setting, if the patient says that I live in this place and I need to know the locations of the branches of that dental company near me, so it has the Google search thing and it will just search nearby locations. So this is this place of this dental company. So it gives the Google of course has whole knowledge, and it will give it, and then it will reply to that info, this info provider, and this info provider will provide the message to the chatbot. So it is a whole workflow of its own. This was one thing, and it can also change the appointment if you need. So if the patient clicks on change the appointment, it will come to this workflow where it asks for the patient code, and then from the patient code, like I said, it will search in the Google Sheet account. I'll just tell it to you how it reaches this Google Sheet. From this Google Sheet, it gets the information of that patient according to the patient code entered. And from that patient code, it asks if it wants to change something, if the user wants to change something. So if the user says that, okay, I want to change my appointment detail from Monday to Wednesday for 5 p.m. of this service. From this is a service. So it changes the service, it changes the time, it changes the date. And then this changed date, what happens is, if you see, this is a webhook call that it is making to the Google Sheet, and how it is getting that information. If the value of Google Sheet is found, it will then ask the user to input a new information. If a user inputs the new information, then it will send that new information to the Google Sheet again to store it. If you can see this. This is a node where it makes a query from the user's response. It generates a query, gathers all the information, and then sends it to this webhook, which we call, which is connecting directly to the Google Sheets. And when it is connecting directly to the Google Sheets, this Google Sheet stores the information in a structured manner. This is how the whole thing is working. It is a bit complex, I agree, but this is how the chatbot is. It is nothing but a set of rules, a set of functions and tools amalgamated in such a way that it is working flawlessly. And this is how it is. And if a patient wants to set a new appointment, it will then activate this agent where it asks for the appointment details. So again, this is as a whole prompt, and what 6 details encoded it to ask is first name, second phone number, third date, time, the branch of the dental company which it wants, and the service which the user wants to avail. So 6 things that the agent should ask the user. And what happens is, I have then made it in such a way, I prompted it in such a way that it can verify the details as well. So what I mean by verification is that it should ensure that the phone number is 10 digits. And one more tidbit I would like to add is that the AI is very bad at counting numbers. Very, very bad. And I'm saying this from experience. First, I just asked it to count the numbers, and if it is not 10 digits, ask the user to input a 10-digit number. Sounds simple, right? But it was not able to count. So that is why I had to import a code in JavaScript so that it would use, this is the code. I had to input the code. As you can see, this is the whole code which I wrote and I imported it so that it can just count the numbers. For counting the numbers, I had to input a different tool because AI cannot handle counting numbers because this was not in its training data, right? It does not input the information as words or numbers. It inputs it as tokens, which are small parts of words for it to make sense. And that is why it does not do a good job at counting. So I had again this appointment setter tool which takes all the information, and according to the information it then sets the appointment. It has access to Google Sheet again and various scenarios. According to various scenario it works. So for an overview, I think this works. That user inputs, according to the user inputs, it decides whether it wants to set an appointment, whether it wants to change an appointment, or it wants to only gather information. So according to user's need, the agent decides, and the agent decides, then it has sub tools or sub functions which it can perform in order to get the relevant details or according to the user's input. This is how the whole chatbot works, and this is how any chatbot works. What makes my chatbot special is that I have added various case scenarios which can possibly happen. So if you see everywhere, I have added this appointment. So for example, while this information tool is working, the user wants to set an appointment. So it has another case scenario to set an appointment. So if the user says that he wants to set an appointment, so it goes to this workflow. If the user wants to end the conversation, it goes to this workflow. If the user wants to change the appointment, it goes to this workflow. And each and every time the agent is saying something, it has these buttons or these decision-making statements from which it can analyze that, okay, if the user says that he wants to set an appointment, change it to this workflow. If the user says that he wants to only get information, change it to this workflow. So it is just redirecting based on the user's input. So 3 things that I covered till now was that how the chatbot works is that it takes the information according to the user, then it redirects according to the user's wants and desires and what it wants, right? So in this chatbot, it covered 3 things: changing the appointment, setting the appointment, or getting the information. For each agent, for each workflow what it is doing, it has separate tools which it can access at any point it needs so that it can better structure its responses. And thirdly is that it has access to the entire knowledge base of the dental company's website so that it can clearly answer if the user asks something related to the website. This is how the whole thing works. And how it is storing this data to Google Sheets is very nice. Now I'm going to share that to you. This was the whole thing of how the chatbot actually works and the whole workflow behind it. This from NA10, what it is doing is that it is sending this information. It is first getting that information from the user, then combining that information in a particular variable, and then it is sending that variable across the software through what we call as API key or webhook. And through this API key or webhook, it is sending that information in a bundled variable to this software which we know as NA10. And this software is then working where again it has an AI agent which can classify that what query is there. Okay, so if the user wants to change an appointment, so the chatbot gathers that changing the appointment, and then when it gathers changing the appointment, it sets that in a query that, okay, what information needs to be changed. It gathers all that, and this query it sends to this NA10 workflow. And now the workflow, what this agent does is that it has various tools which it can access according to the query's intent. So if it is to change the appointment, the chatbot replies to this software, okay, now you change the appointment. So they are talking among themselves. So these AI, if you see, are interacting among themselves. If the query is to change the appointment, it messages this n8n to change the appointment, and then it can use the tools that it wants according to its need. It has full autonomy on how to use the tools. I have just prompted it some guidelines on how to use the tools, but it has full autonomy on how to use what tool for doing what purpose. So if it is change the appointment, what it will do is it will get appointment details for a particular person such that it does not coincide with any other date, right? So checking the time slot, and if it does not coincide with any other date, what it does is it deletes the previous appointment of that person and then sets the new appointment. So are you able to get this? It is a bit complex, I agree, but if you understand that, it is actually mind-blowing what is happening here. The agent is sending a query to this n8n workflow, the chatbot for sending the query bundled up in a variable to this software. This software was working, and it has an AI agent again inside it, where it can classify the query based on if it is to change the appointment or if it is to set the appointment. If it is to change the appointment, what it will do is it will get the appointment details so that the appointment will do not coincide with a particular time slot. And if it does not coincide with the time slot, what it does is it deletes the previous appointment. It deletes the previous appointment which the person with that patient code had, and it then sets the new appointment. These are the 3 tools which I provided it to do this. So it can either set the appointment. This is the Excel tool. This is the direct connection to the Excel which this software has. I have uploaded it to a credential of mine, so it has the access to the whole web sheet. It can get the appointment details via this node, and it can delete the appointment via this node. So do you get this? And for doing that, it has access to this OpenAI chat model or GPT-4o mini model. This is again a type of chat GPT which you get, but it has the access of calling the functions. So if I just show it to you, what is happening here is if you see that what response it is giving is it is not sending anything, it is not sharing a chat, or it is not inputting anything. What it is doing is it is using this tool calls option. It is calling a tool. It is not sending any information, it is not giving any information, it is not writing anything. No, it is just calling a particular tool for a particular function. Are you able to get it? This is what is happening here. So to conclude, what the chatbot is really about is it talks to the again the user, everything it talks and gets the information, and for each information that it gets, if it is to change the appointment or to set the appointment, what it is doing is it is bundling that information in a variable. It is sending it to this software, this n8n software which I just told you, and this software is able to decide what it wants to do with that query. If it wants to delete the existing appointment from the Google Sheet and then set the new appointment, or if it just wants to set the appointment and not delete it, or if it wants to get in appointment details, and if the time slot is already booked, it again sends that information to the chatbot, the parent chatbot which was acting, and says to the chatbot that this time slot is already booked, I cannot book the appointment for that. And that chatbot then replies to the user that, okay, I'm sorry that I'll not be able to book your appointment because we have already an appointment scheduled for this date. So this was the whole workflow behind this chatbot. Let me now show it to you after all this explanation that how the chatbot actually works. So if we go onto this Real2 Dental Company's website, we'll see in the side this widget. So this is the whole widget, welcome to Real2. And if you click on set an appointment, what will happen is that it'll get started. It'll ask for my name and phone number. When I enter it, so for example, I enter 6 digits only, it will say that it seems that you provided incomplete number. So again, a verification number, I'll provide this 10-digit number. So I have inputted all my details. Like you can see that I inputted the whole number, and then I inputted day after tomorrow. I did not input the date, and you can see that it has real-time access of date. Now you might think that, okay, it is not a very big deal. Of course, everyone knows what the date today is. However, However, it is a big deal for AI to know, because when these models actually come, the language model actually come, they come by getting trained, and they have only the access of the last training data which they have. So when you ask questions like what is the date today, it does not have real-time access to the date. So I inputted a variable which has the real-time access. I made a code to have the real-time access in JavaScript, and then it has the real-time access. It was not very easy. So Thursday, so from day after tomorrow, it automatically guess the day and the date, and then it asks the time. I inputted the time, the branch, and dental service. Because I inputted 3 things in one thing, it again, because it was working in steps, right? So it confirmed one thing, and after getting all that information, it confirmed all the details. So these are the 6 details which is confirming, is everything correct? So if I write yes, so now because this is it takes a while to confirm the appointment or to set the appointment via Google Sheet, because it is sending that variable to n8n, and then that is setting the appointment in Google Sheets. What is happening is, that is why I wrote a statement that it should write this waiting statement so that the user waits and it has patience, and not that user is wondering where it went. So appointment is successfully set. This is the patient code that is randomly generates, and this is the date, time, and branch. And if you can see, after it is asked, it is not ending the information, it is not ending the chat abruptly. It is asking for these 4 type of things which I can click the buttons again. And if you can see, this has worked, which we now set. It is now 2/19 date. Yeah, you'll have to believe me. And this is what we did, right? So this was the query which was passed on to it. See, name, Shivansh, phone number, this, date, time, branch, and dental service scaling. So it inputted all the 6 things to this, and then the agent decided what to do. So what did the agent do? It set the appointment. First, it got all the appointment details from the Google Sheet which it has, and then it has the brains, and then it checked if there is no appointment coinciding with the appointment details that I gave it, and then it set the appointment, right? So this was the whole thing. Again, I can write anything, I can change the appointment, it will do the same thing, and again. So this is the whole thing behind the chatbot, which you need to know if you are a business owner, or if you have a curiosity as well. It is not very technical to understand. It is just that this is how the things work in reality. In reality, it sounds a bit complex, because it actually is, and I gave the simplest overview which I could give in my knowledge. And this chatbot which I made is better than what you can find, and I can upload this chatbot anywhere I want. So I can upload it on WhatsApp, I can upload it on LinkedIn, I can upload it on Instagram, any page of the business I want, and then the user can talk on that platform. So imagine that you have a chatbot talking on WhatsApp with the user, and it can qualify half the leads which you have, and set the appointment, change the appointment, or even provide the information for which you would have to actually hire someone to do it. It is cost effective, it is time effective, and it is also highly efficient. It works 24/7. So this was it for today's video. I hope you found the content valuable. If you did, please write in the comment section below if you need me to do any other type of AI agent, if you need me to build any type of AI agent, or if you want to get in touch with me, please email me on shivanshanand0110@gmail.com. It is displayed on the screen. Thank you, and have a wealthy life ahead.